I'm ready.
All right. I'm going to hit record. Okay. Recorder's on. Whenever you're ready, go for it.
This is Charla Gervers from Charla Gervers Consulting, and you're listening to the Vroom Vroom Veer podcast with Jeffrey Smith, reminding you today to unleash the greatness that's inside you.
I love it. Unleash.
I said Jeffrey.
That's
yes.
okay. Jeffrey, who cares?
Okay.
I've had so many nicknames. It don't matter. All good. If you don't know me and you're listening to this show, you know what? Maybe you know Charla. Am I saying that right? Charla. Charla. Okay. I'll practice more. Let me hit stop. I'll be right back.
Are you ready to thoughtfully steer away from your revved up, frenzied, and far too often scripted life? Then welcome to Vroom Vroom Veer with Jeff Smith, where he guides you down the road differently traveled by sharing unique experiences with guests who have managed to shift away from a life stuck on cruise control and veered their way into a more authentic and fulfilling one in all sorts of interesting and kind of remarkable ways. Get ready to Vroom Vroom Veer with your differently traveled road chauffeur, Jeff Smith.
Bruce Schutter, welcome back to Vroom Vroom
Thank you.
Veer. How's it going, man?
It's great. It's great up here in Pennsylvania, and I think we're into winter now or something. At least not summer anymore.
Yeah, winter has been put on pause in Vegas.
Oh God, yes.
But we'll get there. We'll get there. It was weird. So like a couple weeks ago, we thought, maybe we were going to get a break. And then it was like going to be okay, like double digit temperatures. But no. And we've been having the extreme weather warnings again and triple digit weather again, probably for the next 10 days or so. And hopefully maybe we can get rid of this heat for after mid-October.
We got rid of the heat and traded a hurricane coming through. So
yeah, very sad.
Not a good trade.
Very, very sad. Yes.
Yeah.
Scary big storm. Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that I remember when they used to talk about climate change, they would say things like in the future, storms will be more intense. I think we're there.
Yes, I agree.
I think we might be there.
I feel like this is the storm is mirroring the reason we created the Mental Health Warrior Program. Because
okay. Oh, nice.
Life goes on. You get more experiences. Things get more intense. Or if you try out new things.
So true.
Yeah. It kind of is that package that comes with it. I like to tell people, if you're going to push things or join new groups or take on something new at work, it's going to come with new challenges, meaning it's going to be tougher.
Totally.
But we can manage it and work our way up and build that strength. So
right.
That's the good news.
Because you're leveling up your mental health warrior skills.
Exactly. Yes. Grow as you go is one of the rules we have. So
I love it. So let's recap for people that missed show number 1. So you're Bruce Schutter. You're at bruceschutter.com. You are the mental health warrior. So talk a little bit about, just give us a recap of who you are and what you got going on.
Absolutely. So what happened was, I like to always start off with my story. And back in high school, I'm going through a lot of emotions. I'm always at the emotional ends of the spectrum. I feel like there's something going on in the back with emotions, but I don't know at this time. I have mental health challenges. I'm joining things like I became an EMT while I was in high school.
Right.
And I'm out on rescue calls, life or death. And it's not TV anymore. I'm living real life and going on these calls. And I'm learning all the skills. I'm learning how to work in high school. I'm even learning as I go to college. But what I didn't learn was how to handle the emotions. And that's where I started this path. I like to tell people I had this one line going up, and that's life and on the outside. And on the inside, I'm crashing down because everything is hiding from emotions. And so I turned, like a lot of people, to self-medicate. I was drinking. Mm-hmm. That became a go-to to handle anxiety, stress, or the emotional swings of bipolar disorder, which I didn't even know at that time. So,
oh, wow. You didn't even know you were bipolar.
No. So none of this got diagnosed until late 30s, till I was 40 even.
Wow.
To get the bipolar diagnosis. Yes. So
holy cow.
That's why for 20 some years, my challenges just kept taking more and more of my life and kept taking more control.
Yeah.
Because every day was, how do I get through the anxiety while I'm working in the IT field now? So I graduate college, I'm in the IT field,
right,
getting married, all the normal stuff you're doing.
IT field is very stressful.
Yes. And I'm working as I moved up, I started a small company. I'm working at bigger companies. At one point, I was on a campus, had 2 buildings and over 3,000 people there. So
Wow.
driving in to find a parking spot was tough, let alone go to a meeting where there might be 20, 30 people.
Yeah.
And my anxiety's through the roof. And like you're saying, I'm dealing with projects and I might be okay during the day, but I come home and everything crashes and bipolar then swings you. Well, maybe it would swing me into depression.
Right.
Even though the day was great, now I'm in depression at night. Again, not knowing how to handle it, turning to drinking, turning to short-term solutions for anxiety, for meetings. I go through a whole ritual of how to get through a meeting. If I could burn off all my energy, maybe I can calm down enough to go to the meeting.
Wow.
Not a good way to live.
Right.
I tell stories. It's funny. I'd have meetings in the morning. So what I'd do is I'd get up at 3 a.m. and I'd be driving around the neighborhood trying to calm down because my anxiety was through the roof. And then I get to a meeting, 9, 10 o'clock. People are like, well, you look a little tired. Wow. Well, I guess that's a good thing because I'm ready to handle the meeting, but certainly not a good way to spend the last 6 hours.
Wow. Yeah.
So
talk about some maladapted coping strategies for Bruce.
Yes. And creativity. You get creative trying to solve or self-medicate.
Right. Yeah, I get it.
So the good part is it can laugh about some of that. The bad part is things got tougher and tougher, or I'm having interactions with the law. I'm actually at one point where this became normal to me. And I like to stress this because this is how your thinking evolves, where I got committed for a 72-hour hold on a weekend because my bipolar had swung me into such a manic state, they didn't know what else to do.
Wow.
Then if you can imagine, this is on a weekend. Now I'm working at a job. So on Monday or Tuesday, you come in, well, how was your weekend? Not exactly the story you want to tell people. And you also deal with it. You're like, well, I'll just go back to work.
Right.
Again, I'm not adjusting, doing anything.
Right.
Now, the downside, I get serious at this moment, was it led me to where I felt so powerless at that age, 39, 40, that I decided to end it because I didn't see any point that I could ever accomplish anything or get control of my life.
Right.
Luckily, I got a second chance, as we've talked about. And that's where I said, I got to solve this problem. And I took a hard look inside and I realized the very thing that was causing all my problems was the answer also right in front of me. My emotions, mental health.
Yeah. Okay.
And I said, wait a minute, if it's this powerful that it can drive you down to where you don't even want to be alive, what if we could manage and embrace every emotion out there and really live life? I said, well, then the sky's unlimited. If I could manage my emotions, I could take my career in any direction. I could change what I wanted to do. And I started putting that into action. Like I like to tell people, it was ideas, the warrior idea of coming up and saying mental health's a strength, not a weakness. So I started doing things. I said, I'm going to build this program. I'm going to help people. And I left the IT field and I started to write books. I started to get into areas which, frankly, in the past, I would have run screaming from the building before I'd ever try this. I wouldn't even be on this show today being able to talk because I'd be so nervous. And I said, wait a minute, if I embrace all the emotions and if everybody learns to work with their emotions and their mental health, wow, we can do anything then. And then you can meet and overcome those challenges. And that was, again, today I've been managing for like the last 16, 17 years, managing my bipolar, managing the anxiety disorders, alcoholism in recovery, and PTSD from my time when I was an EMT from the years there. So I've managed to do all this with all of this program, which is a self-help program. And that's the exciting part. I like to say it empowers us right at that base level where, sure, there's advanced things we can jump to when we need that type of help.
Right.
But we've talked about this, like, what do you do when it's just you in the house or just you at 2 a.m. and your thoughts?
Right.
But if you can manage them, like we've said, wow, wouldn't that be empowering? And then I've taken it a step further. The program offers lots of ways you can do this self-help or take care of your mental health with lifestyle and mindset changes. So there's all these areas in your life, whether it's making a lifestyle change or building a new mindset, a new way to think things through and remaining calm. And it has proven to be really successful, which is why I'm here today. So excited to talk about it.
That's a great recap. Yeah. So
thank you.
I would say, like, if you missed the first show, lots of laughs, good time. And we really get into all of the backstory, right? I mean, the whole show is mostly backstory.
Yes,
which is good. But we don't want to repeat ourselves. So that was nice little recap.
Thank you.
Let's talk about these 9 books, because I mean, I think you might have a new problem. You got to stop writing these books. I'm just kidding.
I know. There are so many things you can do. I can't help it.
It's all good. So let's take a tour of the 9 books.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. And so we start out with the first book I created. It's kind of the cornerstone, and it's pretty straightforward title. It's called I Triumphed Over Bipolar, Alcoholism, Anxiety Disorders by Becoming a Mental Health Warrior. And there were 2 points to this.
Spot on there. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to show people what you can do. I wanted to just kind of wow them with the title, but I also wanted to give them a little bit of the structure. So there's 4 components of a warrior, and there's things in there like a warrior creed. And it's really neat. The warrior creed is literally 3 simple words: bend, not break. But it's the new way of living as a warrior, and something I've done. Because in the past, like we were joking before the show, but little things, boy, I would break, give back to old ways. I'd break, like I was telling you, and go back to short-term solutions or choose to drink just to escape that fear or whatever.
Right.
If I learn to bend, I'm going to weave through those challenges. I'm going to find some tools to help me.
Right.
Because again, I wish I could wave a magic wand and we can make mental health challenges or disorders disappear. We can't.
Right.
I'm going to have this lifetime. But I've taken the power back. And that's what that first book shows you.
Right.
You can have the power back to control your life which direction.
Yeah. Totally.
And that's the biggest thing too. And sorry, not to interrupt. It's just
I was going to say, like, whenever I fought through challenges myself, mostly addictions, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know where I heard it, but probably a podcast or something. Like this guy who was addicted to, I think it was porn and sex. That almost wrecked his life, right? And, he knew he shouldn't do it, and he did it anyway, right? That's like the definition of addiction, right?
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Like, as you're doing it, you shouldn't.
Yes, and you do.
You do it anyway.
Yes, because you can't think of anything better that's a better solution.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that, I think he defined like the addict or the addiction is there's only one thing you can think of to be okay in the moment, right? Your options are down to one, right? Whatever that one thing is, be it, porn or sex or, alcohol, right? Or whatever, food, insert whatever here that you can get addicted to.
Exactly.
So then healing from that means you're expanding the options of okayness. I was just throwing that out there because I just recently, battled with yet another addiction. Right. So, coming out of it is like, it's so much better. It's like when you're not addicted anymore, you feel like a completely different person.
You wake up in the morning,
you're like another guy. It's like, who am I now? Right.
I've looked back at behaviors.
Yeah.
I always say the best way you can see you've changed is if you look back at that behavior and say, I don't understand it. How could I have done that? How could I chose that short-term thinking every night I'll just drink and that'll be fine.
Right.
And now I say, I can't even imagine that because I miss out on everything else.
Yes.
Being under the influence.
Right.
And I say, well, then look you've really changed. And you can get there, like you said, by, I think it's 2 things. One, you have to know you have the power. And if you remind yourself, okay, yes, I know there's a calling to go back to drinking or calling to give into your emotions.
Yeah.
And avoid them maybe because they're tough.
Right.
But then if you have some tools, you say, well, I'm going to make that choice. Like you were saying, I'm going to pick a couple tools.
Right.
What's the worst?
Yeah.
They most likely will work. But even if they don't, we'll give you more tools.
Yeah.
So,
totally.
Yeah.
Yes. Like I would always just kid myself. I would say like, you're definitely not doing this, but this is okay. Now this other option was still bad.
Right. Okay. Yep.
But
the lesser of 2.
Exactly. And that does work for a while, but then you can't keep doing that forever.
Correct. Exactly.
Okay. So then you wrote another book. Yes.
Yes. So that's the first book. And then the rest, so that's like the cornerstone, if you will. The rest of the books, we'll use the term a la carte, but they're different topics. So you may find people say, I like this one better. There's no order you have to take them in. They'll all help you build their warrior strength. So we have one called Mindset Rules. And these are what I call, they're a warrior weapon. And they're a reminder of a certain truth that gets lost in a day that can keep you centered or get you out of trouble. So they have 2 purposes. And one of the rules, so there's 53 of them in this book. So we've got a whole library.
Yeah.
So to really empower us. And each one has a story of how I use it. So you get some ideas.
That's a lot of options. I love. That's a lot of options. That's good.
It is. And one I turn to because
it's good.
Yeah, exactly. And you can just page through and grab one. Well, one I always land on is this mindset rule 43. And this is something people can take from today even. I like to give people little insights. And this mindset rule says you cannot control everything in life, but you can choose your response.
Yes.
And that's a lot of what we were talking about.
Totally.
And it says, I have the power. Now, I can't prevent my flat tire from happening on the car and drivers cutting me off.
Right.
But I can come home and instead of turning to drinking or going back to just being angry at everything in the world, I can choose my response. Right. And that has kept me out of a lot of trouble, reminding myself, one, we can't control life. And that part, we think we can.
Yeah. I just learned that recently. Like, the world is the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's always going to be the world. And your life situation is part of that, It's not going to change. Sometimes it fucking sucks. Even when it fucking sucks, you can still be happy. You can still get better. You can still get healthy, right?
Yes.
But when you're there, that was a revelation to me. It was like, it doesn't matter. In a weird way, you can tell yourself that doesn't matter. It's not like you don't have to deal with it. You do have to deal with it, but you don't have to be sad or be angry or any emotional state. Not required. You just have to get to that. Oh fuck, where are my pants? Let's get to work now.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And you have that control, and that is key. And then you can do something from I call it emotionally centered, but a calmer place.
Right.
And now you can make a better choice. But again, you're right. The key is to accept life's going to throw you challenges no matter what. And even as on top of the day, I might be 4:00, there could be that challenge out of the blue.
Right.
And you just have to learn to manage them. And keep the power. That's the key. Yeah. So that's what mindset rules do. That's one of the books.
Okay.
Now we get into a couple of the books that are they're about lifestyle changes. So one of the things I found super powerful was we had a ton of material goods and we had a big yard and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
So this book is called The One Bag Life. And the book came from I asked myself a question. What if I could fit everything that made me happy into one bag?
Yeah.
And really what I was trying to show and what I learned was, and the book subtitle was Less Stuff, More Experiences.
Totally.
That's what counts. Well, I was spending everything on this stuff. I mean, every weekend was spent trimming the yards, cleaning up things, running errands, that.
Right.
And during the week, now there's always going to be some errands. That's the crappy part, like you said.
Yeah.
we have to do that.
Sure.
But I value experiences more. And that's what the book shows you is how you shift over to experiences, which improve my mental health and actually help me reduce anxiety a huge amount.
Totally.
Because again, we're not on that treadmill.
You save a lot of money too.
Yes. And I can spend it on, and experiences mean things, not just some grand vacation. What I'm saying more is experiences like running into people and chatting with them every day, where before I was in such a rush, certainly wouldn't even talk to anybody at a store or at a restaurant.
Right.
Now I get into conversations about mental health in the middle of a restaurant while I'm getting a soda because I have the time and I value it. Exactly.
Mental health warrior, huh?
Yeah, it's exactly what happens.
That's awesome.
I value that. And I think people, when they start to shift that way, they'll see a huge improvement in how you feel about the happiness in each day.
Right.
Because it kind of slows you down a bit and you say, wow, some of the stuff I took for granted too. Enjoying a nice movie when some good movie you're looking forward to and having we've talked about this, having the right snacks and the little setup.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic experience. It's
awesome.
That brings some great happiness.
Yes. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
and then
I love that because, I figured out I remember I had a boss while I was in the Air Force and she was like, oh, I had a lovely weekend. We went out of town for some retail thaerapy.
Okay.
and I just kind of laughed and I'm like, geez, you'd get along with my wife. But thankfully my wife and I have been off the consumer treadmill. So yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. And again, you're going to live. I always tell people I'm not saying we live in a tent in the backyard or something.
Right.
We have some things. We have a couch and a TV.
It's just not crazy.
Exactly.
Right.
And we get to use them. That's really the value.
I think the pandemic helped a lot to help you see like what's important, what actually matters, and like having the coolest, newest shit, not really all that important.
Right. And when you're isolated, like we found ourselves and now connecting,
it's
mostly
mostly about like, they're just like, oh, the thing that gets me the most is like the phone, right? Like I know like most people that I worked with in the past, not any specific job, but would be horrified to have anything other than like the flagship phone.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Right. And I've never had a flagship phone. Right. I think it's dumb, but that's okay. It's just an example of how, like, I don't know, like people are like trying to fit in all the time, right? It's like their brain's still in high school. Anyway, let's move on to the next book.
Yeah, absolutely. We're on the same page here. So the next one, it's another great lifestyle one, is we all have to eat each day. So we have the 3 food rules of a mental health warrior. And I developed these basically. I got certified as a personal trainer.
Huge. Oh. No, the food nutrition is huge.
Yeah, and there's a huge impact on your mental health.
Totally.
And so I created 3 food rules, simple to follow, very straightforward. They do not require in-depth each day, so you can enjoy your food still. It's that subtle shifts.
Yeah.
And I like to tell people one of the greatest things I can tell them is rule number 2 is to say no sugar. Yeah, and if you could even just start to follow that one, you've probably seen it right away. You see some great experiences. Yeah. We get off of the emotional roller coaster, the highs and lows.
Yeah.
And it has such a great impact on our metabolic health. So our physical health, which in turn, as we improve that, then we can actually get better functioning in our body and we'll feed our brains better, again, improving mental health.
Right.
And it's just it just keeps spinning up, if you will, or building that strength like we talked about.
Totally.
And so this book is really fun, and it gives you not just the rules, but different ways to make it work, examples of like foods you can choose. Right. So I find that to be a lot of fun for people too. I usually
lead with like bacon. Like bacon done right can be really good for you. Yes,
you definitely can fit it in. It's there's lots of fun substitutions. There's a lot of sugar substitutes. I do not give up. I tell people one of the things I make all the time is a low carb, no sugar donut. And people go, whoa.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it
good? But you can do it.
And
almond flours.
Doesn't taste like cardboard? Okay, good.
No, almond flours, unique flavors, chocolate donuts. Again, not suggesting I'd eat 30 of them a night, but still, you can have fun.
My addiction, my sugar addiction was ketchup.
Oh, okay.
So
yes.
Ketchup, like the ordinary, brand ketchup, is like 99% sugar. And you don't even know, I didn't even know I was addicted to sugar. And I was addicted to sugar. But I didn't like not eat ketchup anymore. I just changed my ketchup. It's less sugary ketchup.
Yes, and that's you led into my killer point on this book. I was going to tell people the secret is if you want to see some interesting things, start checking out the food nutrition labels.
Yes.
I was astounded. And just like you said, ketchup, milk, all the sugar in them. Oh my God.
Once you get into the, geez, you should eat less sugar, and then you start looking around, it's literally everywhere. Like go to a Starbucks. There's one thing on that menu, maybe 2 things on that menu that you can buy, like black coffee. And then there's this thing that has like cheese and a hard-boiled egg. And there's cured meat in there. Cured meat, probably not the best thing, but just don't eat it or, binge a little. But all the rest of it, don't eat it.
Yeah, I agree. You're right. It's very scary to see people ordering some of the drinks at the different places.
Oh my God.
Do they know what's in it?
Well, yeah, they're selling sugar.
Yeah, exactly.
I used to think people were hooked on Starbucks because of caffeine. Not true.
No, it is definitely the sugar.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that's a fun one in a lifestyle change.
Huge.
And then here's one that's really been interesting. Now, this is a good mindset change. So I wrote a book that's called Euphoria of Today.
Wow.
Now, the title's cool. What it means is it's the mindfulness of today. It's a practice of mindfulness where we really try to focus on today and living in today. And I bring this up because I've talked to a lot of people, myself included, with mental health disorders, and we have such a wreckage in the past, and we're pretty fearful that we're going to mess up in the future. So we get in this, we're stuck. Well, how do we deal with things? How do we work on today? And how do we solve those other two problems? Lose the fear of the past. And I said, well, the best thing I can do is put all my energy in today.
Right.
And there's two immediate benefits I love to call to attention. One is if we take care of everything today, and I mean manage it with the emotions, not solve everything, but keep working on it, we don't bring problems into tomorrow, which is a huge win if you've ever struggled, especially something like alcohol, where you're drinking the night before, you bring problems into tomorrow right away.
True.
From that.
Yeah.
Now, the past, how do I deal with all the wreckage from those years I talked about? Well, again, if I focus on today and all my actions and I compare them, like we've said, wow, look at what I'm doing today and how different. I almost can't even understand the way I was thinking back then.
Right. It's like you're a
And that shows
person.
me,
Yeah.
it shows that new change. It says, I'm a new person, Bruce. You're taking care of things. And that counts for a lot. And that's what we should focus on. Because also, you can always go with the fun story is, unless you can buy that time machine, we can't go back and fix that past.
Can't.
So let's deal with today. And this is what this book's about.
I learned a really cool lesson about the past. It's a little hack, and I don't remember where it came from. Probably Arthur C. Brooks, but he suggested if you've got like a regret from the past, try to figure out what you would have done.
Okay.
Right? Like own the fact that, okay, I fucked that up.
Yep.
If I did have that time machine, what would I do? Right? I spent years just kept regretting, like, man. And then I finally figured out like what I should have done. Right? Like if I could go back and try again, I would have a bunch of things to try, but the first thing I would try, I figured out.
Yeah.
Right. And that makes you feel better. Because then every time that regret memory comes up, you go, right, I should have done that. And it's kind of over at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you could feed that into this, because then when I suggest take it one more step forward and do that right thing today, do that new way of living that you say, I would have done this.
Right.
And so again, I'm paying attention to things and enjoying the little experiences. I'm paying attention to the finances today rather than hiding from them, things like that.
That's huge.
They're not perfect. And a lot of people are struggling.
Right.
And there's a lot of things going on with jobs and things. But if we focus on today and say, we're paying attention, that really counts for a lot.
Huge.
And that's going to make you mentally feel better and be centered.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very powerful.
Being aware of where you're at is huge, right?
Yes.
Money-wise.
Yes.
Right?
And again, it kind of ties into some of these crossover, but the one bag life, living experiences, focusing on today and appreciating everything. Again, I used to fly through the day, million tasks, million problems or fires to put out.
Right.
Today, I'm like, I go out and get a cup of Diet Coke in the morning. I don't drink coffee.
Right.
But I get to enjoy it. I may engage with some people that I'm talking with as I'm having it, because I go to a couple of places. My wife and I go. It's an amazing. And I look back and I think, I never had this in the past. And it's so simple. It's right there in front of me. It's a great experience.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah. Now, I'll jump into this other one that's a little more fun since we got real serious. So one of the books is 84 Mental Health Warrior Tools. Because again, let's be fully armed. And these are tools you can use.
That's a lot.
Some are a little more advanced.
Yeah.
There's some mnemonics you can put up like on the mirror in the front to start your day with a mnemonic on what a warrior is. Get you excited. It's like an affirmation.
Yeah.
But we've talked about one in the past, the swerve tool.
Okay.
So if your thoughts are racing, you just yell swerve and your head says, what the heck was that? And it breaks that train of thinking and allows you to calm down for a second and then take a better action.
I love that.
Now,
it's easy.
We also had in one of my we had another one we talked about, which was embrace the wobble.
Okay.
Which is part of the creed. So again, we're going to bend like a little reed in the wind.
Right.
We're going to bend and not break. So again, we're allowed to wobble. We don't fall down. Like if you ever heard of Weebles.
Wobble, but they don't fall down.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, dating ourselves here with the toys, but that's okay.
I love it. I said that to my wife once, and she was like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, not everybody's going to get that one, but it's a really cool toy.
Yeah, it is.
Now, in the tools book, there's also some ones, and this one's really fun because I love people's expression, but there's a great way to boost your mental health in under 3 seconds. And I actually wrote an article about it. And what you do is, I found this to be amazing, is if you're struggling in the day and you're out engaging with people, either wave to them or say hi, which I figure takes about 1 or 2 seconds. But it is amazing because most of us, we're so heads down in our phones. Say you're in line and you say hi to the person in front of you. 9 times out of 10, you'll start a little conversation, maybe about the food, maybe about the weather, but you get to engage. They benefit, you benefit.
Nice.
And those are just fun tools that you can use almost anywhere. Right. And it's fun too, because again, it gets you re-engaged. As with mental health challenges, they tend to isolate us.
Right.
So it's another fun way to get back in and meet people, and then it expands. So
I love it.
It's kind of fun. And that's where I kind of want to just jump into. There's some other books, but I'd love to just mention, I forgot about this, the Mental Health Warrior Challenge coin. And we have 4 different coins out, and it's about the size of a silver dollar. I know you were familiar with it because we had talked one point, because military has challenge coins.
Right.
Now, the idea on this is it's a mental health one. So it's Mental Health Warrior in the front with some warrior wisdom on the back, big solid coin. It is a way to carry the program with you in a tangible reminder that you're a warrior. And that's something really important, because a lot of times we've talked, like, if you're alone, well, you're never alone with the coin, because you could be going in a meeting and you could grasp onto that coin.
Yeah.
And the weight of it says, hey, don't forget, Bruce, you're a warrior. You have the tools.
Like a physical reminder. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And then I like to tell people too, because on the backs, they have a warrior wisdom. Now, one of them is pretty straightforward. It just says, I am stronger than my challenges. But we need to hear that. And a lot of times we forget to even tell ourselves that.
Right.
So I put that on the back, some wisdom on the back of coins. So again, if you're stuck, I've had people just look at the coin before they go into a tough situation. And again, it's an affirmation, but you might not think to say, because you're gearing up for a meeting or meeting a big group of people.
Right.
And so I like that as the portable way you can take the program with you and be a warrior everywhere.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
Now, that leads into some fun stuff we were talking about earlier, that some of the resources we have to help people in this. And one of the things we've done recently is I have a blog with all the articles.
Yeah, I love that. I saw that.
We want to make mental health less scary. So I'm doing analogies with our favorite TV and movie characters.
I love it.
And we're having whole conversations. So I encourage people to check that out, because what I've done, and we were talking again, I've talked to John Wick, and then you can see how he handles mental health.
I didn't read the blog post. I just looked at the title. So you're actually having a chat with John Wick?
Yes. And I am, because I always try to make them fun too, because again, we think mental health, we think, we have to sit down and be serious. Well, in this case, I ran into John Wick while I was filling up my car with gas. He was right here in town. He roared up, had a big lead on the bad guys, so we had time to talk mental health. And we shared it, because he said, you know what, Bruce? Because he saw my shirt, like we were talking, says Mental Health Warrior Program.
Yeah.
And he said, that's the one thing that's helped me get through things, is to embrace my emotions. And in each article with the character, I give some examples how it works for me, and then he gives examples. And together, I think people will find you can take those examples as tools you can go use right there. You can read the article and emerge ready to put some of that into your life.
Did he tell you about his dog?
He did, because he said what he's done is channeled that emotion to help him keep going. And again, he got the next dog, which again was important to him. Again, that's that experiences.
Yeah.
He wasn't going for a bigger house. He wanted a companion. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've also had some even funnier ones, because another character I talk with a lot, there's 2 of them, is Winnie the Pooh and the Minions.
I love it.
Again,
Winnie the Pooh is perfect, because yeah.
And he struggles with some of his friends, as you know, all the characters in it.
Yeah.
And again, there's lots of tools that come from the warrior that then you can use, since they struggle with mania, bipolar, depression, and things like that.
Right.
But it's a lot of fun to read them. I'm putting them out each week. And that ties into, we have a newsletter that calls out some of the latest articles each week. So if you miss them on the social media feed, it's a great way to catch up.
Yeah. Get an email from Bruce every week. That'd be great.
Yeah. And it's right on the website there. And And hopefully you'll get some more out of it too. There's other things on the newsletter.
So give us some examples of, like, I know one of them was Ripley from the Aliens, or from Aliens. So what did you talk to Ripley about?
So Ripley and I were talking, and one of the things we had said, a lot of times I feed in a mindset rule. Now, I think with Ripley, we had talked about one of the mindset rules, which is mindset rule 2 is respond, not react. And she said when she managed her emotions, her whole team's falling apart. If you remember some of the storylines,
I do.
And she centered, which was able to keep them together and go through those tough challenges.
Yeah.
Now, I told her, as we would say, yes, I can understand that. Didn't battle any xenomorphs or whatever they call them. I probably did a terrible on that word,
I
but
think you might have got it right. That's pretty good.
yeah, I might have lucky. But I know what challenges are like, and I know big ones that loom over my head.
Yeah.
I said, you're right. Let's keep emotionally centered.
Sure.
You know, we talked about, and again, I usually give about 3 different examples and 3 tools you can use in each one.
Okay.
Now, that's with all the characters. There's even some really fun ones where I'm trying to show you how, let's say, straightforward or simple taking care of your mental health can be, but also how fun. So this latest article I put up last week was 6 ways you can use a spoon to build stronger mental health. That's exactly the reaction I was hoping for.
Okay, do tell.
But here's the neat part. If you take a spoon, I will lead you the little funny bit of the story real quick. I was doing dishes and the Minions were over. So we were helping out and they said, "Oh, spoon, mental health." I said, "I bet we could do something with it."
Nice.
Yeah.
I like
the spoon can be, if you look at it, you can look at it kind of concave on the back of a spoon.
Sure.
So it's distorted like a funhouse mirror.
It is.
You can have a little fun and say, wow, like life and things are going a little distorted. Things are a little wacko, but it can be fun to laugh. I'm in struggles, but I can laugh about them. That will take a lot of the pressure off.
Huge.
It's a simple little thing.
Huge.
Yeah. Now, another one is if you're really stressing out and you need to center. If the spoon was in the fridge, don't ask me why it's in the fridge, but let's say you have a spoon in the fridge.
Okay.
And it's cold. You can take it and put it on your nose or put it against your cheek. It will make you center because that touch, like we've said with the coin,
wow.
A cold touch will make you think and slow down your thinking. It will give you a pause.
Now I'm going to put a spoon in the fridge.
Yeah, it's a great little emergency weapon for mental health.
See, now I thought you were going to go with the Matrix.
Oh, okay.
Where you like stare at the spoon and go, "There is no spoon."
Close. I do have one, though. You've read this. See, I have one with the spoon that you stare at it to center down and say, look, the world's problems are around me, but I'm going to focus on that spoon just for 30 seconds.
I love it.
And you may even feel funny, much like the swerve tool. Why am I saying swerve out loud, or why am I staring at a spoon?
Right.
But you emerge from 10, 15 seconds of that, you'll be calmer and you're ready to make those good choices.
I've got a new blog post for you.
Okay.
So have you ever heard of the show The Tick?
Yes. Okay.
A cartoon, right?
Yes.
I don't know why, but his battle cry was spoon.
Oh, okay.
And that was
That's fantastic.
It was no more than that. He would just yell, "Spoon!"
Right. This is great. I learn something every day, and I love new angles for the stories.
And I just love that because it's stupid. It's a non sequitur, right?
Yep.
And it's like, you know, you could say anything as a superhero.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's say spoon as if it were a battle cry.
Almost like when you're talking, and I'll use this since we're doing the analogies, but almost like talking to the Minions. They don't exactly talk in big sentences and long, wordy things.
Yeah, and they
so the articles
have their
are fun.
own language too.
Yes, yes. It's another one I wrote was also another fun thing, but talking to Yoda about it. Very similar too.
I like it.
Or like, be warrior, do now.
There you go.
Well, might be simple, but he's got some good truth there that we can do this every day.
Yoda's great.
Yeah. So those are some of the things we have, the newsletter, that blog going on.
Right.
And I've got my own short podcast episodes where they're just tools and some experiences. I wanted to put out a bunch.
People
I try to share
now.
insights to what we're even talking about, like how to use a tool.
Right.
Sometimes it's nicer to hear it than to have a long written article.
Right.
So I try to explain some. So if you have,
and then we were talking about, like, I get to do like The Clint Eastwood from Heartbreak Ridge was one of my favorite mental warrior tools. Right? There's two. Let's do them both. The dumbass lieutenant colonel who came from logistics is trying to logisticize combat, and it's a fucking clusterfuck. And Clint Eastwood says, "I think it's a clusterfuck."
And I love it because he cuts right to the problem. He's not afraid to talk about it.
Right.
That's a classic warrior movement.
And then the other one was like they go to, I think the story was they went to Grenada.
Yes,
Grenada.
Yes, it is. I think it is. Yep.
And they land at the beach and everything again clusterfuck. And the guys are like, Sarge, we don't know what to do. And he says, "You're a Marine. Improvise, adapt, overcome." Did you understand?
And I love that
what
too.
I said?
Yes, that is perfect. And that is exactly, again, that's taking back the power. I love it.
Right.
He's such a great warrior. And again, there's so many references to that. And what warriors do is try to stay in control, and life's going to keep challenging you. But like we've talked, it's great to be in the center and calmer.
Yeah.
Make better decisions.
Yeah. You know, when things go to shit, you know, you can always punt. You can run away. You can throw the ball away. Pretend you're a quarterback. Like, whoa, that didn't work. Protect yourself.
Well, you reminded me, I have another thing I like to tell people when we're talking about the warrior too, is that it's okay to have a bad day.
Yeah,
just because, but you think, oh, I'm going to fix all my mental health challenges. I'm going to be really good and not get down with depression.
Right.
But sometimes you're going to have a bad day and you might be there for a little bit.
Right.
The trick is to not give away that power and then sink into it.
Right.
And I just remind people, because we start to think we have to be perfect. And again,
you can't. No.
Life's going to throw you challenges. We're not going to be perfect.
No. And you're like, the thing is we're all our own worst critics, right?
Yes. Yes.
And like, you make a mistake and you think, ugh, and you just have to go through this like little mental drama of you beating yourself up. Right. I don't think you can not do that. I don't. I mean, you have to go through that. But you don't have to go, well, that means I need a beer, or, that means I need to, binge a bunch of ice cream or whatever. Right.
Right.
You've got options,
Yeah. And I'll go back to, that's like, I kind of like, that would be a good choice of respond, not react. One of the mindset rules.
Right.
Because again, sure, we have that bad day. Give yourself that break, like you're saying.
Right.
And go over and you'll learn. That's the funny part. Like, we were just laughing about it, but we probably learned what didn't work. And there we go. Next time we'll try a different tool or a different way to handle that emotion.
Right.
Or situation. So yeah.
Taking a deep breath always works.
Yep.
Several deep breaths. Breathing is huge. I mean, like of like all the different things that I wish I would never forget, it would be like all of those breathing exercises. That's huge. Especially like in the middle of the night and you wake up in a panic. The other night I had like bad dreams. I had like this really long string of dreams where I was back at work in the Air Force or the government, and everybody was telling me shit that I didn't want to do. It's like, that's not my fucking job. And I got stickies everywhere, and I just wake up and I'm a fucking mess, and the first thing I do is I wake up and I'm like, I'm still panicking. I'm like, I take a deep breath and I'm like, oh, thank God that was a dream.
Yeah.
I don't have that job anymore.
Yes.
But I was still, my body was still in that panic, Yeah. My heart is racing, my mind is going, what do I do? What do I do? And breathing is what got me out of that. Just breathing,
Yes.
Deep,
I work that in
breaths. Yes.
I work that into the coin can help you. I keep a coin by the side, I just grab it all the time by the bedside.
Nice.
Kind of cling to it, but you also slow your breathing because you're focused on the coin and the weight.
I like
so
that.
It's just like you're talking about. It's just another reminder to slow down a second. And then obviously a technique with it is focus on your breathing while you're holding it.
You're right.
Similar things. We're on the same page.
Yeah. I like the way that you keep mentioning the weight, because the thing about what people are going, why does he keep saying there's weight?
Right.
And I think I have an idea, but you can fill in the blank here. But like, it's an interesting thing to do. To like, remember when they would challenge you to say, rub your head and rub your tummy, but do it the opposite way. There's something about doing that interrupts your current brain pattern, right?
Yes.
So if you can like feel the weight of a coin and then breathe at the same time and go, I'm okay, or whatever your mantra is.
Exactly.
That can be like a magic spell almost.
Yep. It is
getting you like back into, especially if you ritualize these things. It's like every time I feel panic or anxiety or insert whatever, right? I need to get back to center. I'm going to hold that weight. I'm going to take a deep breath. And I'm going to say this, right? Whatever that is for you. That's huge. It's cool.
You're huge because tangible reminders and visual tangible reminders. So the coin definitely weighs like a solid ounce. It's metal. It's not going to wear out. You can rub it.
And it's like, feeling weight is not, and like the weight of a coin is not something we experience all the time.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it's a unique experience, right? It's and it's adding in a little neurology there because we don't like think about feeling weight that much when we feel something light like that. Like when we think like weights, we're thinking like 80 pounds or 40 pounds.
Right. Yeah.
But feeling like a lightweight, it's like something like in your pocket might be like your wallet or your keys. So it's relatively heavy. So feeling the weight and like thinking about feeling the weight, right, is like gonna make you change your internal state.
Absolutely. And again, it's very subtle. And that's the neat part too, is because you're holding the coin.
And you can put it in your pocket.
And you have it right before a meeting or something. You don't have to be practicing off in a corner. You can just be like rubbing it to make sure you're ready. And a lot of people have mentioned it's really effective with meetings. And again, I'll even throw in one last thing too, that people like to fidget. And it's a good kind of fidget thing.
Tool. Yep.
But it's a nice tool because it reminds you, as you see the side going by, it says Mental Health Warrior.
Right.
It's not just a pen you're flipping around. You go, oh yeah, I can handle this. I can handle this.
Right. There's a million things you can do with a coin.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
You can flip it. You can fiddle with it. Yes.
Yep.
There's
you can have some fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I was not a fan of coins while I was in the military, but that was only because I'm a cheap bastard and I didn't want to buy drinks. So in the Air Force, in some units, if you didn't have your unit coin in your pocket, and people, that was like the challenge, right?
Oh,
so it was like you were kind of expected to always have your coin on you. And somebody would put the coin down, right? And everybody would have to put their coin down. And whoever didn't have their coin had to buy a round.
Okay. I never heard that story. Okay. Interesting.
Right. That's one thing. I never bought anybody drinks, and I never. I kind of missed out on that, I think. Yeah. Anyway, I had some like not playing along with fun shit moments.
Okay.
When I was in the military.
Gotcha.
Once you learn, like before we close out, I'll tell you this. Like I got over that, but it took a while because I had to see a negative example.
Okay.
So when I got to Tyndall Air Force Base, the office that I was working in had a tradition of monthly going to the base picnic, like a park, and then that park had like a beach. So you're going to the beach in Florida, and then you barbecue, you burn some weenies, and maybe have pizza and beer or whatever.
Right.
Anybody that came in that month as a new person in the office, they would throw them in the water in their clothes or their uniform.
Okay.
Right? So thankfully, I knew this was coming, right? And like the old me would have like played along but not had fun. Right?
Okay.
And I saw an example, right? There was a guy newer than me, and I watched him do the thing completely wrongly, right? They were like, okay, Bill, time to go in the water. And he was like, okay, hold on, let me take off my glasses. And he walked in the water, and it was like a baptism, right?
Okay.
He got wet. He walked out, and everybody was like, boo, that was boring. I was like, okay, that's not what the audience wants here.
Right.
So I made sure that I wore like a swimsuit and a shirt I didn't care about. And
Okay.
and I left my wallet and my phone in the car, right? So I was water ready, right? And
Yeah.
I had a beer with me and an unopened Coke.
Okay.
And I was hanging out in the pavilion, like right next to the pillar made of metal, right?
Okay.
So when they came at me, right? First I grabbed the Coke and I shook it up and sprayed it in everybody's face.
Okay.
And then I grabbed onto that pillar, with like a death grip and made them wrestle me for like, 5-10 minutes. I don't remember how long. Eventually, after lots of fun, they threw me in the water. But I fought all the way into the water.
You gave me a flashback though, and I definitely could see that. But you gave me a flashback. It's almost like what I was doing when I found out I had these mental health challenges.
Okay.
I was holding on, screaming and kicking, and they're trying to pull me and say, you can do something, or maybe there's something you can do about them.
Right.
Boy, I was clinging at that point because I let them control me for so long. I was scared to do anything fun. And now I'm like,
I get
mental health can be serious, but also fun and enjoy life.
Fun. Yeah.
Like you're saying, it's all in that mindset.
Yeah.
It's very important.
I think like if you're out there and you think, these other things that you can think of that aren't, insert my addiction here.
Yep.
There's no way that can be more fun than beer, alcohol, sugar, food, whatever. Right.
Right.
Just try it.
Yes. Yeah.
You might be wrong. I will attest that I was shocked the first time that I found out that not only could a healthy option be as good, but way better.
Yes. Again, and a new way of living or something where you say, maybe I can try things differently in just one weekend day, even a Saturday, pick something different.
Yeah.
Instead of taking care of a million projects at the house, go out and actually enjoy something.
Right.
That'll recharge you, set you up to handle the challenges for the week.
There you
go. You're right. It's scary, but it can be done. And that's the whole message I want to tell people is Mental Health Warriors. I created the warrior part of it to say it's not a weakness. It's a big strength.
Huge.
So we can go live life just like all this fun we're having talking about it.
Right.
You can get to the point where you're like, if I can laugh at my challenges, boy, I've come a long way.
That's a victory right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bruce, this has been a blast. As usual.
Absolutely.
As usual.
Thank you.
Very fun. So come back as often as you like. So
thank you.
You are at Bruce Schutter, and we'll spell the name. So Bruce is the ordinary way, and then SCHUTTER.com. You got 9 books. You got a blog post. You got a newsletter. Thank you, brother. This has been
and we got the Mental Health Warrior coin, and I'll give you one little secret.
Get a shirt.
If people can't figure out the spelling of the name, type in Mental Health Warrior Program to any of those search engines. You'll find us too.
That'll be the top result.
There you go.
All right, brother. You have a good one.
Thank you.
You have a good one. And let's see. Be a mental health warrior. There you go. All right. I'm going to hit stop, but don't hang up.
Okay. You got it.
Thanks for taking the time to ride along with us on another episode of Vroom Vroom Veer. For podcast info and show notes, be sure to head over to vvveer.com. That's VVER.com. Man, that's fun to say. And we'll catch up with you next time here on Vroom Vroom Veer.